One of my boys posted this on his Instagram, and this is just something that can make someone with a brain question. This is the CDC essentially reporting their health statistics on COVID-19. You see the top, it says deaths involving coronavirus disease, COVID-19. Involving COVID, meaning not just COVID, but somebody could have other diseases as well. So these are all the deaths that have any trace of COVID within it. You see 164,280 right there. I don't know if you see it, but I'm going to say it just in case you guys don't see it. So 164,000 deaths involving COVID. Now, there's a few slides, so let's get it. 164,000 deaths were attributed to COVID or COVID-19. Now, let's see what they say next. Okay. Table 3, comorbidities. So, in conjunction with deaths involving coronavirus disease. For 6% of the deaths, COVID was the only cause mentioned. For 6% of the deaths, COVID, this means that in isolation to a body, the only thing that they found when the body was dead was coronavirus. And again, that 6% still has to be in question. Why? Because Koch's postulates has never been tested on COVID-19 to assume that it's deadly in isolation. So we will have to ask this for this 6%. Where's the bodies? Science needs to see the bodies for this to prove this under Koch's postulates. But nonetheless, let's accept the premise that 6% of the deaths happen solely for COVID. 6% of the 164,000, right? The rest of the deaths, this is what this means. The rest of the deaths are in people with pre-existing health conditions, which already puts them at a high risk of dying from illness. So 94% of the people were already ailing, right? Okay. Now the chart shows of the 161,000 deaths, right? And not the deaths that were caused by coronavirus, the deaths that include the coronavirus. Remember, only 6% allegedly caused. 6% of 161. But the the ones involving of the 161, look at how many elderly. 55 through 64, 20 bands. 65 through 74, 34 bands. 75 through 84, 42 bands. So this is a rough estimate. 42 plus 34 equals 76. And that's 96. And then you got 2, 5. You got about 97,000 of the 161. 97,000 of the 161 dying of this age with underlying illness. 55 through 85. 100,000 of the 61 dying through underlying illness, right? This is what it says. The majority of people, quote unquote, dying from COVID are not only 55 and older, but they also have one or more pre-existing health conditions which drastically lowers their ability to fight and survive additional ailments. This is common logic. People have been saying underlying disease is the key root to anybody dying under this pandemic. Pandemic. Okay, now what else do we have? Oh, you have the multiple differences in respiratory diseases right here. The many different respiratory diseases and deaths from these. So 164 deaths attributed to COVID. Okay, so the slides behind me were the underlying conditions in America, right? So we have that, and out of the 164 deaths attributed, not caused, 161 had pre-existing health conditions. 95,000 of the 161 were over 55 with pre-existing health conditions. And only 6% of this 164 deaths were solely attributed to COVID, even though we still know COVID ain't past Koch's postulates. I don't give a fuck what nobody say until a scientist come out there and said they did the study themselves. and isolated it and put it in a healthy body. We haven't seen that. So this is even still in question, even though it's only a low ass 6%. Making 9,840 deaths. 9,840 deaths caused by COVID. Caused, not attributed. It's a difference. Caused. 196 per state. And what they say? What fucking pandemic? Case closed. CDC just told on themselves, take off your fucking mask and tell them, fuck you. That's how I feel. As the citizens, we can't be this blissful. We can't be this blind. You don't walk around asymptomatic if it's dangerous. Nobody walks around asymptomatic when it's deadly. Not for no COVID. If you're not walking around asymptomatic, then you may have pre-existing health conditions. If you have pre-existing health conditions, you got to work on your diet. When you work on your diet and you build your immunity and you take the right vitamins and minerals for yourself, then coronavirus will not lead you to death, will not even lead you to sickness. Shout out to my boy John Smith. AV, what up? Thanks for posting this, my bro. But come on, man, it's time to wake up. Because now we got Donald Trump and Joe Biden talking about vaccinations to heal the nation. We don't need vaccinations if only 9,800 people have died from the cause of COVID, do we? I know I don't. Dang.